Quasi here, and in this video, I want to share with you the difference between belief and faith, and why ultimately you need to cultivate faith over belief to truly succeed. By the end of this video, I want to share with you my personal experience with belief, with faith, and why relying on my beliefs and what I thought to be true was, at the end, a very ineffective strategy, and why I had to cultivate this sort of trust in the unknown in order to, do something that I love doing and take it to the level that I wanted to take it to. I want you to stick around to the very end of this video because I'm also going to be sharing with you 3 keys to help you cultivate more faith in your life and start living from that place of knowingness that the end has already been created. It's already done. Before I begin this video, I want to quickly announce that I made a free boot camp for you, a 5-video boot camp, some very, very valuable videos on the identity shifting paradigm. Click on the link in the description, in the pinned comments, to check that out. It'll take you to a page where you can just put your email in and we'll send it to your email address. And with that, let's get started. So today I want to talk to you about cultivating faith over belief and why most people fail to succeed, and why I see a lot of people who get started off, they go a couple of weeks, couple of months, they get the shiny object syndrome and they start another strategy and the next thing and the next thing. They quickly deem that what they're doing isn't working. Okay? And the reason why this is most of us, we become dependent on that which is manifest. So you become very, very dependent on whatever is already there and what already can be seen. So to give you an example, society conditions us to get into this 9-to-5 mindset, and we look at everyone around us and we're like, oh shit, this is the right thing to do. This is what we should do, right? So belief is, I should be doing this because others are doing this. And then maybe you want to start up a business. But most people don't become successful with businesses because they don't do what they want to do. They do what other people tell them to do, what these business gurus, they tell you about this strategy and try this, plug and play, try that. And you start to follow all of these things, but you realize that it wasn't meant for you. So with all of these things, you see a certain level of success, but the fulfillment doesn't come because these paths, all of these things, they weren't meant for you. And this happens when you function on belief, right? Belief literally means this has happened in the past, therefore it can happen again. But what belief fails to allow you to do is take those leaps into the unknown and figure out your own unique path, what was meant for you, not the path other people took for themselves. Okay? So that's the downfall of belief. Eventually, belief will run out. It won't be as fulfilling. It won't help you out any longer. On the other hand, people who become wildly successful, they start to rely on something different. And this is what I like to call faith or trust, okay? And faith literally gives a big middle finger to beliefs, right? Because it says, well, it hasn't happened before and I don't know how it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. It makes no logical sense. So to give you an example, well, success unmanifest. I just want to write that down before we move forward. So faith is a reliance on that which is unmanifest. And to give you that example, if you look at people like Elon Musk, he has a vision of having civilization in Mars. It hasn't happened yet. He doesn't know if it's going to happen, but he has this sort of vision, independent knowing. Not knowing that is dependent on things that have happened before, but an independent knowing. He's striving with something that's beyond reason and logic. Okay? And this is beyond the mind. This faith is beyond the mind. This is the reliant on that which hasn't been manifest into physical, material reality yet, but it lies in the unmanifest sector. Doesn't mean it's not possible, but it just needs some time to come into this physical reality, right? A lot of people who've become successful have achieved feats of what can only be called miracles, have relied on faith. If you look at Roger Bannister, the person to run the first 4-minute mile, I believe. Yeah. He ran the 4-minute mile when nobody else ever ran the 4-minute mile. Back then it was thought to be impossible. They thought it was the human limit, the 4-minute mile. But as soon as Roger Bannister ran that 4-minute mile, high schoolers started to be able to run the 4-minute mile shortly after, right? And all of this because back then, Roger Bannister was this man of immense faith. He had this faith that somehow it was possible, even though he couldn't see it, even though no one else had done it before. But then when other people started to see it, they started to believe it. And then they were able to do it as well, right? So ultimately, what will happen is if you keep relying on your beliefs, you will get to a certain level of success, right? You can get to that 9 to 5, you can get to that successful business, but what will be missing is that fulfillment and that drive and that thirst to go towards something that is much larger than life itself. Right? So this is why we see a lot of people who get burnt out in their jobs and their businesses and they can't quite innovate and get it to the next level because their vision isn't big enough for them to have some sort of faith to move towards. Right? So this is the belief reliance trap. If you rely on your beliefs too much, you'll always look to others for inspiration. Your inspiration will never be unique. It'll never come from within, but you'll always look for external tactics and strategies, ideas from other people who've done it before, and you'll never get your own path toward it. So to give you an example, in my personal story, right, I was taught and conditioned in that 9 to 5 mindset, go to high school, go to college, get a degree, and then, pursue a job and do that for the rest of your life. I never knew there was anything beyond that until I found out about entrepreneurship and how other people were succeeding in that. And then I started to look into it, and slowly it started to seem to me like, oh no, it's only a select few people who can afford to take that risk do that. Oh, I can't do that because this. I can't do that because I'm this way and that way. And you start to rationalize with all of these excuses that were based on your beliefs about you, about what you should do and what you shouldn't do. Right? So these beliefs start to hold you back in that way. And you become so reliant on your beliefs, right? That if you don't believe something, you'll never pursue it. So that's why you always look for, oh man, I don't believe this can happen. I should be believing that this can happen. I shouldn't have doubts about this. Do you know how many successful people doubted everything that they tried? Like Elon Musk was stuck in so much debt and he had no idea if the companies were going to do well. But he just had that inner knowingness, right? That inner knowingness is what faith is. When you're driven by vision and not fear. You're driven by your desire, but not avoidance of fear. Most people are driven by, avoid the bad, just avoid the bad, not go towards good. Does that make sense? So this is what the belief reliance trap is. When you get too reliant on your beliefs, you need it to function. You can't innovate, you can't do what you truly want to do because it doesn't fit your worldviews or your beliefs. Okay? So going back to my story, when I was in that 9 to 5 mindset, in order to break out of it, I had to expand my comfort zone. I had to start doing things that I would never do, which first of all was starting this YouTube channel. Back in January 31st, 2018 or 2017, about 3 years ago, I started this YouTube channel, made my first video. And back then I didn't know that this would evolve into a business, but I was doing something that made me uncomfortable when I was sharing ideas. And, at best I thought that I was going to sell merch, and I had a friend who was doing that back then, and he was making like 10, 20K a month, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll do that. But I didn't know that I was going to do something like coaching and help people and be able to do this full time. I thought this was going to be some side business that I did, right, while I was doing engineering full time. But then as time progressed and I started to look at my vision for my life, what I really wanted, and also got clear on what I didn't want, which was the 9 to 5 and continuing on that path for the rest of my life. I made a detailed video about this story. If you click up here, I'll put it in there. But as I got clearer and clearer about that, and I focused on what I did want, it started to align my way. Opportunities started to show up that showed me that this was the right way to go. For example, I had a lady reach out to me for coaching, and I'd never thought you could do coaching via YouTube. And I was like, oh wait, if people are reaching out for coaching, that means there must be more demand for this. So then I started to, after a year of having my channel, I had my coaching business. But even when I started that, I had a lot of doubts, right? I didn't even know if this was going to be viable. 1 month I'd make 3K, the next month I'd go back to 0, come up to 5K, go to 8K, and then go to 0. It was this roller coaster inconsistency in my revenues. So then I truly started to ask myself, well, I don't really believe I can do this. I didn't believe I could do it. but I had faith and I trusted in the process. Let's see what can happen. Faith is basically saying to yourself, okay, I don't know if this can happen. I don't really know what's going to happen, but let's see what does happen. I'm interested and curious to see what does happen. And you move forward based on that knowledge, okay? So the key I want you to take away from this is the belief is in your mind, okay? Whenever you are mind-centric, you close yourself off to opportunities that will allow you to take that path that was meant for you. When you live in the mind, you always go the path that was meant for other people. Okay, I want you to remember that. When you live in the mind and you live on your ideas of what things should be like, you go off the path of other people and not your true path, what was meant for you. Right? I never knew I could start a coaching business from YouTube and do over 150K a month. I didn't really think it was possible. I didn't think I could make 10K a month from this. That this is beyond my wildest imagination, right? But I had faith and I trusted the process and I just kept going forward with a vision in mind. Belief lies in the mind. Faith is in the heart. Okay? Faith doesn't rely on what has happened in the past. It's more reliant on what can happen, what possibilities are there in the future. Belief relies on what's happening right now, what's possible right now, and what was possible in the past. But the world is changing. You have your own path. You should do something that fulfills you. Or else you always, success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure, right? As Tony Robbins would say. So those are the two keys I wanted to share with you. Now, what I want to share with you is how you can cultivate more faith, right? Because that's the deepest question right now. How does one cultivate this faith? If you're starting off, if you're in a certain path and you've been trying out this business opportunity and it hasn't been working and you're thinking about quitting, how do you cultivate more faith so you can stay persistent? Because persistence and focus is all it takes to, if you put all of your energy and attention towards one path, you're going to be successful. There's just no other way. So let's talk about how you can cultivate more faith, okay? The number one thing I did to cultivate more faith, and I mentioned this, was expanding my comfort zone. Expanding comfort zone. What do I mean by that? Well, expanding your comfort zone essentially means doing things that are left field, that don't fit in with your worldviews. Do things, go on adventures, explore, go to a new country, a new place, a new city. Open up your mind. Because the mind is closed off. And if the mind doesn't accept something, it becomes a battle within yourself to do it. Just like expanding your comfort zone is a little bit of a battle, but it makes you feel exhilarated afterwards, after you conquer that battle. Right? When you expand your comfort zone, you start to get comfortable in the unknown. All faith is becoming comfortable in the unknown. If you want to be successful with entrepreneurship, you have to get comfortable in the unknown. You have to let go of your reins of control and just let life take you and see what comes up and work with what comes up in the moment. Okay? That is the secret to entrepreneurship that I learned, and why I'm so, hell-bent on sharing stuff about entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship, because this has been the deepest test for me. This has been the greatest personal development test, was entrepreneurship. Expand your comfort zone, try new things, constantly try new things. I can't stress that enough. That's probably one of the most powerful things you can do to cultivate faith and this trust in the unknown. Okay? Think about it this way. If you buy a new car and you want to drive it for the first time, how do you know it's not going to explode on you? You trust it. There's a level of trust in there. When you turn on the ignition and you start up the car and you put your foot on the pedal, you trust that it's going to get you from point A to point B safely. Right? There is a trust there. When you get into an elevator, there's a trust. It'll take you safely to your destination. Without trust, nothing can happen. All you need is trust. Trust is this thing that's beyond your mind. It's beyond belief in what can happen, what can't happen. Right? So expanding your comfort zone, building trust like that is one of the most powerful ways. Another thing you can do is you can actually use belief to feed into faith. Okay? How you do that is you look into your past for when miracles have happened that kind of went against your worldview. So look at past. What do I mean by that? Well, look into your life when things you never thought could happen did happen. That will give you more faith, more courage to try out things that are unknown. So for me, looking back at this journey of entrepreneurship, starting my YouTube channel, getting to my first 20K a month, getting to my first 80K a month, getting to my first 150K a month, helping all of these people, all of our clients become successful in their journey, that's huge proof for me. That gives me a lot of faith to try out new things. So look into your past, and when things happened that gave you proof, that gave you confirmation that you were going a direction that you truly wanted to, even though you didn't know how you'd get there. That's number 2. Number 3, expose yourself to contradictions. So exposure to contradictions or contradicting ideas, however you spell that. So if you expose yourself to contradicting ideas that challenge you, it'll allow you to see beyond all of those at core principles that are really true. So if you start to look at duality, if you look at, you've got to have chaos and order in your life, you can start to see beyond contradictions into understanding core principles, which is balance. There's no one right or wrong thing. You can't hold one thing true all the time. You can't believe one thing all the time. Your beliefs is subject to change based on what you want, right? The greatest way to live life is to have your beliefs in line with what your passions are. Putting your heart, number 1, and putting beliefs, number 2. Having faith first and then believing. You've got to have faith first and then belief follows once there's enough proof, right? I didn't believe I could do 20K a month until it happened. And then I started believing that it's possible to do 20K a month. Do you see what I mean? So when you start to put your passions, your heart, your faith first, your trust first, then you'll be able to cultivate this sort of healthy ecosystem where you're always fulfilled no matter what, right? A great way to do this, to cultivate more faith, is to expose yourself to contradictions and contradicting ideas. Because if you start to, first of all, expose yourself to contradicting ideas, you battle test your existing principles and you see if they hold true, right? Your existing beliefs, they get challenged. Second of all, if contradicting ideas do get to you, it kind of opens you up more, just like what faith does. Faith and trust open you up to more opportunities to trying out new things that you normally wouldn't have tried out, right? And with that, I conclude this video. Thank you so much for watching. I sincerely hope this was helpful. And let's do a quick recap of what we talked about today. We talked about faith versus belief and why cultivating faith over belief is the best thing you can do for your fulfillment and actually achieving your goals. And why, if you have fulfillment, achieving your goals becomes really easy. If you love what you do, it becomes very, very easy to achieve your goals. If you hate what you do, and you go on someone else's path because you believe that's the only way to go, you're always going to be miserable and it's always going to be a fucking battle. Like if you weren't meant to do a 9 to 5, and by the way, not everyone was meant to have a business. Some people love to work for someone else and another company and work towards a common vision. There's nothing wrong with that. But some people have their own ideas and what they want, and they want to pursue those, right? So belief makes you dependent on that which is already seen and that which has already happened in the past. And when that happens, you start to inevitably hit a barrier because it might not always align with what actually fulfills you. So for example, the business strategies, the 9 to 5s, social conditioning, they all train you up that way. And to truly become successful, you've got to find out what you actually want. And usually this relies on that which that hasn't happened yet. Only you can tread the path that was meant for you. No one else has treaded that before. That's why it's the unknown, it's the unmanifest, right? And when you start to rely and have this trust on that which is unknown, you start to do crazy things like Elon Musk, right? You start to go towards wildest visions and things that haven't happened yet, like settling people on Mars. And you will always fall into a trap if you rely on your beliefs too much, because you'll need it to function. I can't tell you how many clients I have, coming on our coaching calls asking, Kwasi, I don't believe this can happen. How can I move forward? Oh no, I need to believe this. I need to believe this. I need to believe this. You don't need to believe anything. You don't. You just need to be open to receiving. That's all you need to do. You just need to open yourself to receiving. The only way you open yourself up to receiving is if you shut up the mind. Just shut up your beliefs for a second. You don't need it. That again is a false belief that you need to believe. You don't need to believe anything. You just need to be open. That's all. And I shared with you my story on how I didn't believe I could have a business, and I couldn't even imagine myself doing 20K a month, let alone with YouTube videos and on personal development. But it happened. And it happened to spite my beliefs. And it happened because I had faith. At every single stage in the process, I could carry out the process because I trusted the process. This is why people talk about trusting the process. If you hit failure and you rely on your beliefs too much, you'll never be able to move past failure. Because a failure is a fork in the road that wasn't meant to happen. And that's the only reason you call it failure. And in order to overcome all of these forks in the road, what you need is faith, right? And beliefs lie in your mind, faith is in the heart. The 3 keys we talked about to cultivate more faith, to cultivate more trust in the unknown, is expanding your comfort zone, doing things you would have never done before. Go to a foreign country. Go skydiving. Don't sue me if you go skydiving and hurt yourself. I don't recommend going skydiving. I haven't done it myself. But expand your comfort zone. Do things to expand your comfort zone. Number 2, look at your past for when miracles happen. Like, when have you done things and achieved things that you thought you never could have? That's a huge confirmation that it can happen, despite what you believe and don't believe, right? And expose yourself to contradictions. Read books that you wouldn't normally read before. Expose yourself to ideas, articles, and other things that challenge your own beliefs and ideologies. Because if you start to do more and more of that, you start to see the things that, the principles that are beyond your beliefs, right? You start to find out what you truly want and don't want. And then you can choose what you believe in to serve that. With that, I conclude this video. Thank you so much for watching. I sincerely hope this was helpful. If you're new to the channel, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and hit that little bell there so you're notified of any new video that I put out. And also, I wanted to quickly announce that mentorship opportunity with me is open. So click on the link in the description below to schedule a free call with us to see if we're a good fit to work together. Who we typically work with in our reality mastery program are people who are entrepreneurs, who are stuck at a certain revenue level, or they have inconsistent revenue. One month they make 5K, they go up to 10K, then they go back to 5K. And what they're seeing is they don't have a tactical or strategic problem. But even if they do think that they have a tactical or strategic problem, they deep down have an internal problem that prevents them from making the right tactics and strategies even stick. They doubt themselves, they doubt their services, they doubt their offers, or they procrastinate, they can't do the work. Something internal is stopping them from getting to what they want. So if that sounds like you, click on the link in the description below to schedule a free consult with us. I'm sorry, but not everyone qualifies for this consult. We're very selective about who we speak with, let alone let into the program. So if you qualify, we'll be having a call and seeing if we can help out in any way. And the free Facebook group is open for you to take advantage of. The link for that is also in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time. Peace!